And joining me now is journalist and Russia analyst Jason Corcoran. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, Sarah.
Firstly, what more can you tell us about the events that unfolded over the weekend?
Well, I think as far as events in historical context, this is the biggest crack that I've seen in Putin's power vertical over the past 23 years. I lived in Moscow for 15 years, and this is easily the biggest challenge to Putin's power. Blowing up bridges across central Russia, the martial law, which we've seen being introduced in the capital, and many other signs make it an episode for the history books.
There's now reports that the investigation against Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin wasn't dropped, which, let's be frank, was surprising that the paramilitary leader could launch a coup against his once ally Putin and walk away hands clean.
Well, actually, there's a report this morning in Kommersant. Kommersant is a respected business newspaper suggesting that the criminal charges against Prigozhin has not been dropped yet, and we are not really sure about the whereabouts of Prigozhin. As part of the deal with Putin that was brokered by Lukashenko, the Belarus leader, he was meant to retire quietly to Minsk, but there's no reports of that happening yet. Alternatively, he could sort of go quietly to Africa, where there is a very large Wagner force in place in Central Africa. But the big question is, for me, who helped Prigozhin orchestrate this coup? Because he had no real power structures in the Kremlin. So he needed somebody to have a krisha, a roof, a protection, somebody within the palace to help him mobilize, and we don't know yet.
We just saw footage of Russian Defense Minister Shoigu visiting troops on the front lines. What's the message behind that video?
Well, Shoigu went missing, or was MIA, for 4 days. We didn't know his whereabouts. And like many other senior officials in the Kremlin, he was quiet. And this is to reassure the troops that he is still in position, even though this is one of the demands made by Prigozhin, was Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister, and Valery Gerasimov, the chief of staff of the army, were to leave as part of his demands.
In your eyes, what does this attempted coup signify about Putin? Are we witnessing the first cracks in his power?
I think, as I said, this is the first real serious crack in the power vertical. When Putin came into power in 2000, as part of his idea of consolidating power and trying to sort of neutralize the oligarchs and anybody else from the liberal side who would challenge him, he brought all of the powers, all of the institutions within the Kremlin's ambit. So all of the decisions have to go through Putin. But now it looks like his decision-making power has been challenged, and we're seeing cracks. We're seeing challenges now from the ultra-nationalists. People like Igor Girkin. Igor Girkin was very much involved in the invasion of eastern Ukraine in 2014. Girkin and his cohort now sense there is blood in the water. And they had a meeting yesterday making a list of demands, calling for full mobilization across Russia and calling for martial law to be introduced across the entire country, and for Putin to transfer his powers legally to somebody else who can finish the job in Ukraine.
I'm interested to know, how does the Russian public view the events that unfolded over the weekend, and how do they view Putin?
I was speaking to some of my friends and relatives at the weekend, and they were shell-shocked. They were on tenterhooks. As part of these martial law measures, a lot of the parks were closed. So people, they were locked out of Gorky Park, Zaradia Park, right next to the Kremlin. So they were either staying at home, glued to Telegram channel, the encrypted messaging app, or they were back at the dacha, which is the country home where they grow their vegetables, typically located about an hour outside of Moscow. So there, despite the deal that's been done with Prigozhin, a lot of people are living off their nerves.
Jason Corcoran, thank you very much for your insight today.